Gypsies, tramps and thieves, you hear it from the people of the town they call us. It's not very nice either. But only really only the thieves bit, because I've got nothing against tramps or gypsies. Great. The lifestyle of choice. Meaning they chose it, mostly. I suppose some tramps are down on the luck, but you don't really see the old boys who used to wander around, and ladies, of course, who used to wander around with with their meagre possessions on them. There are one or two still left, but we used to see them quite regular, I would say, not frequently, but regularly in the village, and never really thought about it when I was a child. You know what life they must lead, but although I can't remember thinking about it. But of course, tramps were there in literature, in many stories that I heard. So you knew what a tramp was and what they did. They didn't have a house. They just simply wandered around and slept in barns, or in the summertime just under the stars, of course. That's the best way. So it's, as you can see, it's dark. It is, so they say, almost 20 to 5, which obviously in the PM. But I wish they wouldn't mess about with the clocks. They should just leave it at one time or another, not mess it up. I understand why there has to be time zones, I suppose, but then anyway, yeah. Twice a year, they totally mess with my internal clock, and it takes me at least a week to readjust. And once or twice, I haven't put the clocks back or forward. I can't remember which now. Usually I don't put them back. I stay with British summertime, and if I had my choice, that's the way it would be. But it's just a number that you're looking at on the clock. When it's 4 o'clock, it's just a number. What you should do is go by the sun. But then, of course, when you want to listen to a certain radio program, you've got to make the adjustment. So your routine, and I do have a routine, is upset by this. So I listen to the radio at 6:30. I won't say every evening, but if I can, most evenings, because certainly in the weekdays there is some quite good comedy on sometimes, and some not so good, but it's entertainment, and that's and of course when they move the clocks, I should be listening to it. I should be listening to it. I'd be halfway through it now if it was in an hour. If it were really, if they hadn't messed with the time. It's so confusing. It confuses me anyway. I know it's only an hour, but still it kind of messes me up. I don't mean I can't work out an hour's difference. Of course I can, but I mean internally, you get used to a certain pattern, and when that is disrupted, normally it's a time for illness as well. You can catch a cold quite easily just because you are sort of disorientated with the time. I'm no idea. I'm not not an economist. Whether that's obvious or not, I don't know. It might be. It is, certainly is to me. But I'm not an economist. I can't even say it, so it's a good job. But I probably would think that if they didn't mess with the clocks, if they left them, the country as a whole, as we're supposed to see it, would be better off, because I think there's more work days or hours lost due to the clocks changing, because I forgot, I didn't set my alarm, or whatever excuse they may have. But I'm sure lots of them are genuine, and yes, it does disrupt people. And they say it was for was it the school children going to school in the morning? They'd be going in the dark if they didn't change the clocks. So certainly in Scotland there would be. I used to live in Orkney, which in the Northern Isles of Orkney, one of them, and it was very dark in the winter up there, very dark, and in the summer it didn't get dark. It was fantastic. The sun went below the horizon, but it didn't stay down for very long in June, and then it was back up again. And but consequently, you sort of did everything manically in summer when it was light, and in the winter time it was well, I found it very depressing. The lack of light certainly doesn't suit me really. And yes, we had electricity. You can turn the light on, but I'm an outside type of person, and I get a bit, cabin feverish when I'm inside all the time. So, although it was sad to come back down here, I did miss trees, and there's plenty of trees where I am. Well, not plenty, there's never plenty. And the best time to plant a tree is 40 years ago. But yeah, you've probably heard that one. I hadn't till just recently, but it's great. But it's so true. You can, put the number of years you want, but 40 plus is usually the best. So why do they mess with our light? Well, the excuse, like I say, is so that the children in Scotland weren't going to school in the morning in the dark. Well, I can't. Well, one way or the other, you're going to be going to school or coming back from school in the dark. In fact, where I lived up there, they did both, because it really didn't get properly light till 10 o'clock in the morning, and this is in GMT, and it would get well, it's certainly 3 o'clock, and it was as dark as it is now out there, which you can see it's not fully dark. You can see I can see the branches and twigs blowing around, but there isn't much light left in that sky. It's a bit overcast, I must say, today, but still the moon is quite big and growing, and it casts a fair amount of light, but it's, like I say, it's overcast. So the time zones themselves are confusing. There are a great number of time zones in Russia. I think isn't there something like 6 time zones in Russia? It's so amazing. It's huge, that country. But if you remember Sergei, when he was sun tracking with the sun tracking, he's inside the Arctic Circle, so he knows that the sun doesn't set for I don't know how long, I don't know how far up into the Arctic Circle he is, but he'll certainly see the sun for 3 months of the year. Yeah, 3 months, total sunshine for 3 months of the year, constant sun. It won't disappear out of view for 3 months. It might go behind some clouds, of course, but it's still there. And in what we call the south, beyond the equator, on the outer rim, they can't say it doesn't ever. Well, they don't have the sun. They don't see the sun for that time. Now, there's a very interesting effect that happens. Robert Shortman knows all about it. He's done some very good hangouts on this subject, where in the what it would be our summer and their winter, it is obviously no sun, very cold, but like he says, it doesn't really get really dark. Now, that could be due to the amount of ice that's there, the reflectivity of it all. I don't know, but in their summer, our winter, again, the sun isn't there all the time like it is in the north, and that is because the sun has to make a very a much larger circle in our winter because it's further away from us. Now then, in the heliocentric model, the sun in the Antarctic winter is closer. I think it's 3 million miles closer. Some shit, something that it's just couldn't work because it would melt all in ice. If it was a globe, it wouldn't melt the ice. Are you mental? Robert Shortman, when he was in Antarctica for 15 months, I think he was there. I think it was annually. They had to raise the structure that they lived in because more snow and ice would just come in, and it was increasing. So I don't know by how much, but it was a considerable amount. Talking feet rather than millimeters, or should I say inches. I don't really do. I mean, I understand metric measurements, but I still like feet and inches and miles and pounds and ounces, especially ounces. Rather than millimeters and kilograms, and it's just a rip-off. We were all, when I went to school, we were taught both because I was in an awkward time when there was both happening. And people were still obviously selling things in this country by weight, and the weight was pounds and ounces, sometimes stones, pounds and ounces, or tons, stones, pounds and ounces, or hundredweights. It'd be tons, hundredweights, stones, pounds and ounces. You don't really need any more than that, and it was quite easy to work out. But anyway, metrification, decimalization happened, and because we went into Europe, but perhaps now we're coming out of Europe, we can go back, we can revert to our own old pounds and ounces. Anyway, the Earth is not a spinning ball. Antarctica does not have 24-hour sun.